Hi, welcome to Exploring the Illusion of Free Will. My name is George Ortega, and today's episode is Determinism, Causality, and Free Will until you get it. Because, I'm going to do this show until you understand. And also, I'm thinking, because this is a historic show, it hasn't, played out yet. I mean, you can't ever say if it will or not, but I'm anticipating it. It should eventually play out in that way, where basically everybody understands it. And this show, I think, will be a very important part of that historically. So, what I decided to do is, along with the introduction with the episodes, ordinarily I don't date the shows, but I think I'm going to start doing that, so this is actually episode 123. So we've been doing this since, I think, November of 2010, okay? And today's date is Thursday, May 30th, 2013. Okay, so let's begin. So basically, as I do before each show, I'm gonna just explain what we mean when we say we. I want to start this show because a lot of times when people say free will, they don't really mean what it's really, what the term has been about, historically and philosophically for centuries, really. For example, sometimes sometimes will say that, well, free will is when I can do whatever I want, and there's no laws against it. This country, for example, the United States is a very free country. We've got many kind of liberties that other countries don't have. That is certainly freedom, but that's not really what we mean when we say free will. The idea of free will is that we would be able to choose to think, feel, say, do whatever we wanted, regardless of anything. And that, I mean anything that we're not in control of. Because what happens is, if even the slightest thing that we're not in control of is part of our decision, it's no longer our decision anymore. I've gotten into that at great length in past shows. And on this show, I'm going to go into it in terms of determinism, this basic principle in the world that everything has a cause. All right, so that's basically the definition of what free will is. And, I think you could see pretty easily that we don't have it. And, free will, it's not like we can have a little. If we don't have it, again, even if a little influence is causing us to do what we do, then that kind of negates our free will. But the truth is that the most, technical truth is we don't have any free will at all. I mean, because basically we're completely influenced by factors outside of our control. All right. Why is this show important? Because our entire, I want to get into the habit of syntactically and logically talking in a way that reflects reality better. In other words, I was going to get a drink, but I'm going to hold off for a while. In other words, I was going to say that that people, that the world is completely deluded about, who we are as people. That why we do what we do, and think and feel and all that. And that's true in colloquially in a certain sense. But the more precise technical reality is the universe. I got to get a drink. The universe compelled me to have this stuff in my throat, whatever. I felt it before. I should have drank more. Excuse me. So the universe has compelled us, without any part in it that we can take at all, to be completely deluded about this fundamental fact of who we are. And I wouldn't be doing this show if it was just trivial, inconsequential, if it just didn't matter. Because a lot of people say fine, we don't have free will, it doesn't matter. It matters. It couldn't matter more, okay, to the world. Because to the extent that we hold ourselves and each other responsible for what we do, that creates so much hate, animosity, negativity, conflict, guilt, negative emotions. It is so insidiously, it's insidious for some of you who don't know what the word means. It means that it's harmful or dangerous in a way that's hidden, that's not obvious or apparent. And that's what this is. It's kind of it hurts us as individuals in society in a way that we just don't notice until or unless we take the time to really think about it. And so that's why, you know, that's really what the show is about, you know, to help us overcome the illusion so we can have like much better lives personally and, you know, globally, societally. All right. So, all right. Now, so the name of the show is like, or the title is Determinism, Causality, and Free Will Until You Get It. Now, why am I using determinism and causality? Because in most of the shows, I'll use the term causality, okay? Even though like the more technical standard term in philosophy and psychology is determinism. I'll tell you why from the beginning. Determinism basically is a word that was, not sure when it was coined, but it was most popularly phrased by a French mathematician, statistician named Simon de Laplace, or Laplace. And basically what he said, you know, a few hundred, maybe like in the 1800s, I gotta remember, a while back, that like the state of the universe at one moment is the complete result of the state of the universe at the previous moment, and will completely cause the state of the universe of the next moment. Okay, I've explained this before in previous shows based on, you know, relative to the free will thing. So he said because of that, if, and that's the key thing, if, okay, it's a very important word. It's two letters, but it's very important. If there was a mind that was vast enough and, you know, intelligent enough, knowledgeable enough to know everything about the universe, every particle in it, the movement of every particle, every force, everything in the universe, then in theory, in principle, that intellect could know everything of what happened in the past. Let's say if it existed today, it would know, you know, the state of the universe a billion years ago, okay? And it will also be able to predict the state of the universe or anything that happens a million years from now or a billion years or, you know, eternally from now, whatever. Okay, that's, you know, so that was his statement. And that came to be known as determinism. Okay, so like what I want to like explain is like it has an element of causality. So in other words, the first part of the statement says that like everything has a cause, okay? Everything has a cause, the universe is caused, okay? And then the second part is because of that, prediction and knowledge of the past is theoretically, in principle, possible. Now, you know, all right, so I'm going to get right into this. In quantum physics, quantum mechanics, some people will say, no, in principle, because of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, in principle, not everything is predictable. Wrong. I'll tell you why, because like it's not predictable in principle. Well, I can't even say in principle. It's not predictable to human beings, not only because of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, but because we don't have complete knowledge of everything. So like, let's say we as individuals had a complete knowledge of it. You know, I think something's dawning on me. I'm going to have to do a complete show on this. Okay. So all right, if we don't have complete knowledge of the entire universe, there's absolutely no way we can make a prediction, okay? But let's say we have absolute knowledge, okay? But then what happens in quantum mechanics is what they have found out is like when you're trying to measure a particle with another particle, the act of measurement, okay, the act of measurement alters the behavior of the particle you're going to measure. Okay, so like for decades, for over a century now, people have claimed that in principle, you know, human beings can't predict the future. And I've kind of like gone along with that for many episodes. You know, I think it's in my book. I don't think I'm going to change it because I want to keep it to the historical whatever. But because I'm going to reissue a second edition, hopefully in a couple of weeks or so. It's going to be called Exploring Illusion of Free Will, second edition. All right. Anyway, my ear is like, all right, whatever. So the idea is, all right. So like, in terms of this measurement thing, and like the relevance to this is like people would say, all right, if in principle human beings can't predict, you know, the future because of this Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that might leave some room for free will. I'm going to get into that later because it doesn't, okay? But relative to this, in principle, human beings could actually, I'm saying this now I think for the first time on any of the shows, could in fact simultaneously measure or predict based on their measurement of the position and momentum of every particle in the universe. And the reason I say that is because, like, if you have an intellect, I mean, now obviously a human being wouldn't be that intellect, but if you had an intellect that would know everything in the universe, it would know exactly how its influence on the measurement of the particles was going to affect the particle. Fine, as human beings, you know, we don't have the technology to do that. We may never, you know, because, like, the idea is, like, here's the idea. All right, if you're trying to, like, measure the movement of let's say a grapefruit or a basketball with a tiny little photon, you fire it at it, right? And it's going to, like, see where, like, you know, because then it bounces back to you, and that's how you know where its position is. And, like, you do that with a bunch of them all. That's how you know its momentum, which is direction and velocity, okay? So, like, if you're doing this with a grapefruit or a basketball, the photon that you're going to measure it with is so teeny, teeny, teeny relative to the let's say basketball or whatever, and it's not going to affect its momentum or position, right? But if you're using a photon and you're measuring an electron, they're relatively both extremely small, then that's what's going to happen. Like, you're going to, like, fire the photon at the electron, and that interaction is going to change the momentum of the particle. Or, you know, if you fire it at an electron, a photon, whatever, with, let's say, a low energy, long wavelength one that'll give you the momentum, you're going to lose accuracy in the positional. All right, but the idea is, again, I'm going to challenge this contention, this assertion that in principle the quantum Heisenberg uncertainty principle prohibits prediction. It doesn't. Okay, just because I explained. You know, again, if you had an intellect that was vast enough and strong enough to and omniscient enough to know everything, it would know exactly, like I said before, it would know the dynamics, it would know the result of the interaction between our measurement of whatever and the ultimate outcome of the particle. All right. That's good, because I got to do another show on that. I haven't felt the need to refute Heisenberg uncertainty principle, because here's why. All right, let's say things are, like, unpredictable, and I'm going to get, it's about this show to a great extent. That doesn't matter, because it's not about prediction. Determinism, the aspect of determinism that refutes free will is not related to the predictive aspect of it, whatever. It's about the causality. In other words, like, you would the best that quantum mechanics could grant us was that reality is unpredictable, okay, fundamentally. But is it unpredictably causal or uncausal? Okay, so if it's unpredictable and causal, then you've got this chain of cause and effect, and I've explained this in so many shows before. It's just like, if every one of our decisions and acts has a cause, there's a cause to that and a cause to that, and these causes are always going back moment to moment, by moment, and you could, like, the best way to understand is that the state of the universe at the moment prior to anything we do is ultimately essentially what causes us to do what we do, and then the state of the universe before that is what causes that state, and the state of the universe before that. All right, so you can see that you can follow this chain of cause and effect as it regresses back, the antecedents going back further and further, way before when we were born, way before the planet was created. You can see how, like, you know, if the causal aspect of determinism, you know, completely renders free will absolutely impossible. No way we could have it. Okay, so then we're left with, all right, what if, like, if what they mean by unpredictability, they mean it's unpredictable because it's uncaused. Okay, because sometimes you hear people say that it's unpredictable and uncaused because of quantum, you know, Heisenberg uncertainty. That doesn't help either, because, like, in order to attribute actions to a free will, they have to be caused by a human being and by a free will. So if something is uncaused, you can't in any logical sense attribute it to a human being or a will or anything. All right. And no, I'm going to go into this later. All right. So, all right. So that's basically the history of why this term, determinism, has caused confusion for a lot of people. And that's why I actually use the word causality in most of the shows, because it's the essential principle. In other words, causality has as an implication prediction, okay? But its salient meaning is that everything has a cause, whereas with determinism you have two components, the causality and the prediction. Okay, so and you understand, I just explained how it refutes free will. I'm going down through my notes. All right, so and I think I kind of explained also in terms of they'll try to refute determinism, so they'll say that things are indeterministic. Okay, indeterminism has various meanings that confuse a lot of people, and I should do a show on that just to clarify all this confusion. But essentially it's pretty easy to understand. Basically, if you're refuting determinism, you're refuting either causality and prediction or just prediction. In other words, some people use the term indeterminism to say that things are not caused and things are also unpredictable. Other people use the term to simply mean that things are caused, but they're unpredictable. All right, again, as I just explained, either way refutes free will. If you want to use the indeterminism to say that things are not caused, again, acausality, indeterminism cannot grant you free will, because what's not caused cannot be freely willed. If you want to use the term indeterminism to say that not everything is predictable, again, you're faced with the reality that unpredictability would either have to be causal or acausal. That would have to have causes. Whatever was unpredictable would either have to have causes or not. And again, both prospects refute free will. The acausality, actually perhaps refutes it even more strongly. All right, so we've gone through indeterminism now. And we've just gone through why it refutes free will. Okay, so let's see, what's this? Oh, all right, so I'm trying to, if I had a free will, I would write more clearly so I could read my notes, and I would have actually, I wrote this, this outline yesterday, the day before, and I would have, reviewed it. I didn't, but anyway. So, some people say, all right, well, let's say there's a third or fourth option to everything being caused or everything being uncaused, okay, or some things being uncaused, something, whatever. Because people will say that. I mean, this belief in free will is so pernicious, so reluctant to for people, it just doesn't want to easily surrender to reason and sanity. So some people say, all right, maybe there's a third or fourth option. So I've thought about this, and I've talked to a lot of people about this. I've read a lot about this. Basically, there in terms of different. I mean, I don't think there is. That's my best answer, my most sincere answer. But some people will say, for example, that well, some things are the cause of themselves. In other words, our decision caused itself. That wouldn't help with free will either, because again, if our decision is causing itself, we're not causing it. Okay? I mean, that's, but all right, I just gave that away. So yeah, some people will say certain things are, are the cause of themselves. Now, all right, to expand this universally to the most fundamental, essential considerations, the only thing that could possibly be the cause of itself is everything, way back in the eternal past with the transcends reason, because how could there have been a beginning to everything when there must have been something before that? And then how could, eternity go on forever because it must have started? I mean, you get to that point, but that's inconsequential, because, all you have to do, the Big Bang was 13.7 billion years ago. And so, since that point, we know absolutely, without any kind of equivocation, that it was the cause of everything we know of. All right? So there's nothing that is self-caused that's outside of this universal causality, or this progression of the universe state by state from the Big Bang. All right? So, all right, so that's a causality. That's a possible fourth option. And again, it doesn't really make sense. But no, the third option. The fourth is that our decisions could come from nothing, something from nothing. That it just it it's not that it's uncaused, that it comes from nothing. Again, it's kind of like an incoherent concept, okay? You know, because it doesn't matter that it comes, and again, I just cut straight to the refutation. If our decisions, if our acts, if what we're doing is coming from nothing, it's not coming from us. It's not coming from our free will. You know what I'm saying? Like, in order to have a free will, it would be coming from us, and like, the important part of this is like, a lot of the reasons that people want to like hold on to this delusion of free will is because of moral responsibility. In other words, like, if we want to kind of like hold ourselves and others morally responsible, we have to, they say, we have to hold on to this free will belief. I mean, I kind of like promote this idea that like we see ourselves and each other as the proximate causes or the pragmatically responsible agents for whatever, but certainly not as the fundamentally morally responsible agents. But anyway, so this something from nothing stuff, I just lost my train of thought. But I think it's something from nothing. So like, no, it's gone. All right, whatever. All right. Let's see. Well, that's it. I mean, basically, all right, I think if I can try to find it, basically the something from nothing, you can't attribute it to a human being. All right, whatever. Again, this is a perfect example. If I had a free will, I would not have lost my train of thought on that. You know, that's, you know, I'm going to do actually a show on that in 1 or 2 episodes. Okay, so that's it. That's it. That's why, you know, that's why determinism refutes free will. That's why indeterminism refutes free will. That's why causality refutes free will, acausality, okay? And again, you know, like, I'm going to keep doing this until you get it, because I understand that, you know, we don't think about this stuff that much. It's not really taught. It's not taught in school unless you're like in a psych class or philosophy class as an undergrad in college or something. And even so, you'd have to take a philosophy course to know this, or a psychology course, or at least to explore it, because even, you know, so many of the academics get this wrong. All right, let's go with probabilities, because this is related to the quantum mechanics Heisenberg uncertainty thing that I mentioned before. Some people will say, you know, reality isn't deterministic, reality is probabilistic, okay? The same answer to probabilism is the same, probabilistic, whatever, is the same answer I gave to predictability. If behavior, if our decisions or whatever are probabilistic, and the short answer is they're not. The short answer is, like, in terms of our predicting them or anything, we rely on probabilities in the quantum world, and our predictions based on probabilities are amazingly accurate. But, so again, like, the idea is, like, if reality were probabilistic, then it would be either probabilistically causal or probabilistically acausal. In other words, like, saying the reality is probabilistic does not circumvent or evade successfully the reality and truth that behavior must, nonetheless, however probabilistic one would consider it, would either have to be causal or acausal, you know, or having no cause or coming from nothing, whatever. All right, so, like, you know, I gotta, you know, I have to address that because it does confuse a lot of people. Randomness is another term that confuses a lot of people. Some people will say, again, it's like, this is all related. It's like probabilism. They'll say, like, no, like, certain things come about at random. All right, now, random has various meanings. I could hold a card in front of you and say, pick a card at random, and by that, I would mean pick a card without thinking about it, without any plan. You're not going to count from one side or the other. You're just going to, like, pick it up without any plan. All right, that's colloquial randomness. That's like what we generally mean as when we use the term, you know, on an everyday basis. Some people use randomness in a stronger sense, because, like, this sense that I just told you is completely causal. There'd be a cause for your, like, just not thinking, you know, and just picking any card at random. But some people will say that, like, randomness means that fundamentally reality is random, presumably meaning uncaused. Again, it's nothing can happen without a cause, and if things were to happen that weren't caused, you couldn't attribute them to this. I've got, like, about 2.5 minutes. I'm kind of like, I want to get through. I've got 3 more points. Okay, why don't people get this? You know, because, you know, if you were to like play back, and I'm going to upload this to YouTube eventually. It's going to be on the internet, or you know, if you want to watch this again. If you were to like listen to this 3, 4, 5 times, you know, a couple of hours of listening to this, you should get it. I mean, this is not brain surgery, rocket science, whatever. This is simple, basic, fundamental logic, you know? So why do people not get this stuff? There's a thing in psychology called motivated reasoning. A lot of times it's a defense mechanism. When we're faced with realities that don't conform to how we want reality to be, or how we expect reality to be, how we need reality to be, we'll confuse ourselves. We'll just like invent these rationalizations, these kind of like pseudo-reasons, a pseudo-reasoning to preserve our perceptions of the world and of ourselves. I'll go into this in a lot more detail because I want to segue. These will probably, hopefully, be the last shows in a while that I'm going to be devoting to the mechanics of why we don't have free will. From now on, I want to try to focus much more strongly and more so just in general on ways of explaining it that don't deal with the specific theory, that deal with our everyday interactions. And I also want to overcome that motivated reasoning. In other words, I want to do a lot of episodes that will like convince you that overcoming your free will belief is going to enhance your life on a personal basis, and it's going to improve the world societally, you know, globally, very, very much. It's going to actually create a brand new world. Okay. Yeah, so that's my last point. I mean, like, you know, to the extent the free will belief is not just insidious and pernicious, it is extremely destructive. I mean, like, and you know, I'm saying this, you're wondering why, and you know, keep watching the shows because, like, you know, after these next 2 episodes, I don't think I'll be getting into it. Yeah, one of them I will. But like from now on, we're going to get into. All right, I'm running out of time. Thanks for watching. This is George Ortega. I'll see you again next on Exploring the Illusion of Free Will. Thanks.